Hey guys, Cruz here. Today we're going to take a look at what I consider to be the best games for the original Macintosh. While most of the top games for compact Macs require at least 1 megabyte of RAM, I recently found out that some of the classics that I usually play on my Mac SE don't actually require that much RAM at all, and can be played on the 128K. Quite honestly, I think you're going to be surprised at what developers were capable of producing for the original Macintosh, given its huge memory constraint. Well, first up, we have the absolute classic Lode Runner. Lode Runner had a very wide release and was produced for just about every home computer back in the 80s. This Macintosh version of Lode Runner might look a little different from the 8-bit versions, but coming from someone who is very familiar with the 8-bit versions, trust me when I say this version is every bit as wonderful as the others. In some aspects, even more so, like with the level editor, which is an absolute breeze to create levels on this version of Lode Runner when you have the mouse at hand. Overall, it's got all the classic stages here, presented in a much higher resolution than the 8-bit versions. Even the Championship and Revenge of Lode Runner stages made it over to the Mac. As a testament to how well this version of Lode Runner was coded for the Mac, this app ran on everything from the 128K all the way to the latest PowerPC Macs that could run OS 9. That's impressive. Next up is a game called MacAttack, released in 1984 by Miles Computing. The story of this game goes that Alaska is being invaded, and you have to hold off the enemy troops until reinforcements arrive. The gameplay in this one reminds me of the classic arcade game Battlezone, where you control a tank from a first-person perspective and have to take out enemy tanks and helicopters before they take you out. Now, I'm probably not the best person to demonstrate this one because I'm not very good at it, but I really think it's a neat game with great graphics and awesome animation. It has a real arcade feel to it. If you're going to check out this game, I highly recommend reading the manual before you do so, as I don't think it shows what keys do what while in-game. Now, some people consider this to be the first 3D game for the Macintosh, but I personally have not verified that, so take it for what it is. But overall, this is a very interesting game worth checking out if you got the hardware. Next, I've got what I consider to be my favorite sports game for vintage Mac, a game called Championship Star League Baseball. This is a baseball game that is very well executed. Everything from the controls, the graphics, the sound and music, it really was phenomenal for its time. What I find unique about this game is that it tries to have a sort of cinematic aspect to it, where it'll show an animated grandstand while playing some really well-produced music. You didn't see that much on the Mac, especially this early. The game has a variety of modes to play, including a 1 or 2 player mode, a batting practice mode, and a standard 9 innings baseball game that follows all the rules. When playing, you control all of your team's players, and in my opinion, the controls are really tight, making the gameplay feel great. I do recommend checking out the manual for this game as well, but just to give you an idea, you just have to click to throw the ball from player to player, and when you're pitching, you can click and drag to do different types of pitches. When batting, all you gotta do is hit the space bar to swing the bat. And when you've got players on the bases, you hold the angle bracket keys to make them run bases. You can even steal bases too. I grew up with this game and it was always so much fun to play, but coming back to it, one of the things that I noticed about this game is how well it looks on the built-in Compact Mac CRT. It's definitely one to try on real hardware. Next up, I've got a little shooter to show you called Grid Wars. Now, it wasn't until recently that I learned that this game doesn't actually require very much RAM. And with how impressive the sound and animation was on this game, I was surprised to find out that it works all the way back to the original Macintosh. Like I said, this is a shooter called Grid Wars. The story here is that you're a human who runs cargo around to different planets in space, and apparently you had a bad day and stopped at a space bar called Alfie's for a drink. Little did you know that at Alfie's, they make you play a game called Grid Wars, where if you beat everyone in the bar, you do have to buy everyone a drink, but you also get to stay. The gameplay is pretty unique. Your objective is to destroy all of the grid nasties in the stage, the shapes that are bouncing around, as well as keeping the grid walkers at bay. The grid walkers are these things on the floor, and you gotta keep shooting these things, because if they reach your side of the table, it's game over. Personally, I've never beaten this game because it just gets so fast and difficult, but it is an absolutely fun challenge that I have spent probably hundreds of hours on. This one is absolutely worth checking out, and that's awesome it works on the original Mac. The last game I got for you today is another one published by Miles Computing. This one's called Fusillade. The word Fusillade means to shoot in bursts or rapid succession as to bombard your enemy, which I guess fits the shooting nature of this game. It's a unique game where you have to protect your planet's power crystals, which are represented by the jewels in the middle of the stage. Really, that's the entire goal of this game. Defend your jewels from wave after wave of baddies. They'll appear around the edges of the stage and try to sneak over and run off with one of your jewels. It gets pretty hectic a few stages in. You control the game entirely with the keyboard, where it handles kind of like a twin stick shooter. Twin hand shooter, I guess. The I, J, K, and L keys will move you around, and the E, S, D, and F keys will shoot in the up, down, left, right directions. It sounds kinda confusing, but once you try it out, it feels very natural, and it was actually a pretty innovative control scheme for its time. It's a well-produced game with very smooth animation, and runs at a great frame rate, which makes the game have more of a premium arcade feel. It's so much fun. I've talked about this one a few times on the channel, and that's because I really enjoy it. It's so simple, but also so much fun to play. Well, that's all the games I've got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like on this video to let me know. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more obscure retro computer game videos like this one. Thanks so much for your time today, guys. Goodbye.